I moved to Seattle 7 years ago and built a new life from scratch. My career in software engineering has taken off. I have amazing friends, and my girlfriend Jessica is the most supportive partner I could ask for. When my mother called inviting me home for Christmas, something inside me thought maybe it was time to give them a second chance. I bought thoughtful presents for everyone and flew back to Ohio with a mixture of hope and anxiety. Deep down, I wondered if my family had changed or if I was walking right back into the same dynamic I had escaped. Before I tell you what happened when I walked into my childhood home after 7 years, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button if family drama stories resonate with you. Growing up in small-town Ohio was suffocating for me. My father, Richard, runs a successful local business and has always been the controlling patriarch of our family. My mother, Diana, is kind but passive, always deferring to his judgment. In our family hierarchy, my older brother Adam was the golden child destined for greatness, and my younger sister Sarah was Daddy's little girl who could do no wrong. Then there was me, Easton, the middle child, who never quite measured up. From an early age, I was drawn to computers and technology. I would spend hours coding and building websites as a teenager, teaching myself programming languages while my brother played football and my sister competed in beauty pageants. My father saw my interests as a waste of time. Computers are for people who cannot succeed in the real world, he would say at dinner. Adam is going to be a lawyer like his grandfather. That is a real profession. These comments were frequent, especially at family gatherings, where relatives would ask about our futures. I remember my 16th birthday when I asked for a new computer. My father bought me a set of golf clubs instead. This will help you network with actual, successful people, he said. That same year, he spent thousands on a pre-law summer program for Adam. My mother would occasionally whisper encouragements when we were alone, but she never contradicted my father publicly. Your father just wants what is best for you, she would say. Law and medicine are stable careers. Computers might be a phase. High school was a parade of achievements by Adam that overshadowed anything I accomplished. When I won a state coding competition, it barely warranted a mention at dinner. When Adam was named valedictorian, we had a party with the entire extended family. I held on to the hope that college would be my escape. I worked hard, got a scholarship to study computer science at a good university, and for 4 years I thrived away from home. I made friends who appreciated my talents and professors who encouraged my passion. For the first time, I felt valued. But even then, holiday visits home were exercises in endurance. Every Thanksgiving and Christmas became a showcase for Adam's law school applications and Sarah's social accomplishments. My internships at tech startups were dismissed as playing around on computers. I began visiting home less frequently during college. Each time I returned, the contrast between my supportive college environment and my diminishing role in the family became more apparent. By senior year, I was already planning my permanent escape. The breaking point came at my college graduation 7 years ago. I had finished my computer science degree with honors and had already secured a job at a promising tech startup in Seattle. It was not Google or Microsoft, but it was a foot in the door in the industry I loved. My family drove up for the ceremony. I spotted them in the audience as I walked across the stage, my father checking his watch, my mother smiling politely, Adam looking bored, and Sarah texting on her phone. After the ceremony, my father had reserved a table at an expensive restaurant near campus. I was excited to share my news about the job offer, hoping finally for some recognition of my path. "We have an announcement to make," my father said, raising his glass before I could even mention my news. "Adam has been accepted to Harvard Law School with a partial scholarship." The table erupted in congratulations. My mother beamed with pride. My graduation dinner instantly transformed into a celebration of Adam's achievement. Now we will finally have someone successful in the family. My father continued looking directly at me. Someone who will make real money and have a respectable profession. I sat there, my own achievement evaporating in the excitement over Adam's news. When I tried to mention my job offer in Seattle, my father cut me off. Playing with computers in Seattle, that is not a career, Easton. When are you going to grow up and do something meaningful with your life? Your brother is going to Harvard Law. That is an achievement. The restaurant seemed to close in around me. My mother touched my hand under the table, a silent plea to let it go, but something had finally broken inside me. I have a real job, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. I will be a software engineer at a company developing new technology. It is what I love and what I am good at. Hobbies do not count as careers, my father scoffed. Adam will be making 6 figures right out of law school, while you will be what? The IT guy who fixes the printer. The laughter from Adam and Sarah was the final straw. I stood up, threw my napkin on the table, and said words I had been holding back for years. I am done. I am done trying to earn your approval. I am done being the family disappointment. I have a degree, a job I am excited about, and a future I have built myself. If that is not good enough for you, then I do not need to be part of this family anymore. My father's face reddened. If you walk out that door, do not expect our support. Real men do not run away from family. Real family supports each other, I replied. You have never supported me. I walked out of that restaurant and did not look back. That night I blocked their numbers, bought a one-way ticket to Seattle, and committed to building a life where I would be valued for who I actually was. The first year in Seattle was tough. I lived in a tiny apartment with 2 roommates, worked long hours at the startup, and sometimes wondered if I had made a mistake cutting off my family so completely. But slowly things began to improve. The startup grew, and so did my responsibilities and salary. I moved into my own apartment, made friends who became my chosen family, and began to heal from years of feeling inadequate. After 3 years, I was recruited by a larger tech company with better pay and opportunities for advancement. I bought a condo with a view of the Puget Sound and found a sense of peace I had never known growing up. About 2 years ago, I met Jessica at a friend's housewarming party. She works in environmental science, loves hiking the Pacific Northwest trails as much as I do, and has the kind of supportive family I had always dreamed of having. The first time I joined her family for dinner, I was shocked when her parents asked thoughtful questions about my work and actually seemed interested in the answers. Not everyone has a family like mine, Jessica told me after I explained my situation, and sometimes people can change if you give them the chance. During these 7 years, my mother had occasionally emailed me updates about the family. Adam had indeed become a successful lawyer and married a woman named Natalie. They had 2 children now. Sarah had gone to college for marketing and worked at a local agency. My father had expanded his business, but had also had some health concerns. I never responded to these emails, but I did read them. Jessica encouraged me to at least consider reconciliation. You do not have to let them back into your life completely, she said, but maybe there is a middle ground between total estrangement and full involvement. I was resistant until last month, when an email from my mother arrived with the subject line, "Christmas invitation, we miss you." The email was different from her others. It acknowledged the hurt I had experienced and expressed regret for not standing up for me. "Your father is not the same man he was," she wrote. "Adam has matured. Sarah has grown up. We would like a chance to know the man you have become." Jessica read the email with me. "What do you think?" she asked. "I think people say what you want to hear when they want something from you," I replied. "Or maybe 7 years is enough time for people to reflect and change," she suggested. "You have changed. Maybe they have too." After days of consideration and a long conversation with my therapist, I decided to accept the invitation. One day, I told Jessica, "I will fly in Christmas Eve morning and out Christmas Day evening." A controlled reintroduction. I spent weeks selecting thoughtful gifts. A premium tablet for my mother, who had taken up digital art, according to her emails. a high-end smartwatch for my father, professional camera equipment for Sarah, who apparently had developed an interest in photography, specialized legal software and tech gadgets for Adam and his family. Jessica helped me wrap everything beautifully. "Remember," she said, as she drove me to the airport, "their reaction says more about them than about you. You are successful, kind, and worthy, regardless of their approval." I rented a car at the Ohio airport and drove through my hometown, noting the changes and similarities after 7 years away. The anticipation built as I approached my childhood home. I parked outside and sat in the car for several minutes, gathering my courage. "Here goes nothing," I said to myself as I grabbed the bags of presents from the trunk. The door opened before I could ring the bell. My mother stood there looking older than I remembered. Her eyes filled with tears as she pulled me into a hug. "Easton, you came," she whispered. "You really came." My father appeared behind her, his hair now more gray than brown. He extended a hand for a stiff handshake. "Good to see you, son," he said formally. Adam emerged next with a practiced smile. "The prodigal brother returns," he joked awkwardly, clapping me on the shoulder. Sarah hung back, offering a cool "hey" and a brief wave. I was introduced to Natalie, Adam's wife, a quiet woman with kind eyes, and their 2 children who shyly hid behind their mother's legs. The house looked exactly as I remembered it. Family photos lined the walls, though I noticed my presence in them diminished after high school. The Christmas tree stood in the same corner. It always had decorated with the same ornaments from my childhood. "Your room is still available if you want to put your things away," my mother said, leading me upstairs. My old bedroom had been partially converted to a home office, but still contained some of my high school belongings. It felt like a museum to a person I no longer was. Back downstairs, the conversation was stilted. They asked surface-level questions about Seattle and my job. "So you are still doing the computer thing?" my father asked, his tone, suggesting he had expected me to have moved on to something more substantial by now. "I am a senior software engineer," I clarified. "I lead a team developing cloud infrastructure solutions." "Sounds technical," he replied dismissively. "Adam just made partner at his firm." Adam jumped in with details about his latest case, and the focus shifted away from me again. I caught Natalie giving me an apologetic glance. As my mother prepared dinner, I offered to help in the kitchen. "You seem happy," she said quietly as we worked. "Seattle must agree with you." "It does," I replied. "I have built a good life there." "I am glad," she said, and I almost believed her. Dinner was served with the same formality I remembered from childhood. I was seated at the far end of the table, away from the center, where my father presided with Adam at his right hand. The conversation revolved around local gossip and Adam's law firm successes. My father beamed with pride as Adam described his latest courtroom victory. "That is my boy," he said. "Always knew you would make us proud." Eventually, my mother steered the conversation toward me. "Easton, tell us more about your work in Seattle." I explained my position and some of the projects I had been working on. As I described leading a team that had developed a new security protocol that had been adopted industry-wide, I noticed my father's eyes glazing over. "So you still just play around with computers all day?" he interrupted. "When are you going to get a proper career?" The table fell silent. I took a deep breath, determined not to let him provoke me. "My career is quite successful," I replied calmly. "The tech industry offers excellent opportunities. My team's work impacts millions of users daily." My father exchanged a look with Adam. "These computer geeks think typing all day is real work," he said with a chuckle. "Not everyone can handle a real courtroom," Adam added. "Some people prefer hiding behind screens." I felt my resolve weakening. Nothing had changed. I was still the family disappointment, despite all I had accomplished. I glanced at Natalie, who was looking down at her plate, visibly uncomfortable. "The food is delicious, Mom," I said, changing the subject. "You always made the best holiday meals." She seemed grateful for the shift, but the damage was done. The familiar feeling of being the outsider in my own family settled over me like a heavy blanket. After dinner, we moved to the living room for the gift exchange. The Christmas tree lights twinkled, but I noticed something as I looked around. Among the many family photos displayed, I was notably absent from most recent ones. There were entire vacations and events documented without me, as if I had been erased. My carefully selected gifts sat under the tree wrapped in silver and blue paper that Jessica had helped me choose. I felt nervousness rising as my father began distributing presents. "Let's start with what Easton brought," he announced, as if to get it out of the way. My mother opened her tablet first. Her eyes widened. "This is too much," she said, looking genuinely pleased. "I have been wanting to try digital art." "I know," I replied. "I thought it might be perfect for your new hobby." My father opened the smartwatch next, examining it with critical eyes. "Very modern," he said without enthusiasm, setting it aside. "I prefer my Rolex. Real men wear real watches, not toys." Sarah unwrapped the camera equipment with surprise. "How did you know I was into photography?" she asked suspiciously. "Mom mentioned it in her emails," I explained. "You read those but never responded," she scoffed. "Typical." Adam opened the legal software package and tech gadgets last. "Not sure if this is compatible with our systems," he said dismissively. "Our IT department handles all this stuff." I felt my heart sinking. I had put thought into each gift, trying to connect with their interests and lives. Yet each one was being dismissed or criticized. "Well, I guess you can afford these toys with no real responsibilities," my father commented. "No wife, no children, just yourself to worry about." "These are not toys," I defended. "They are thoughtful gifts based on your interests. The tablet is probably just a way for him to track what Mom is doing." Sarah joked to Adam. "Tech guys are all about surveillance." Adam laughed. "Is this legal software even useful? Our firm has enterprise subscriptions to all the platforms we need." My father had set the watch aside completely. "I appreciate the thought, son, but I will stick with quality timepieces." The hurt must have shown on my face because my mother tried to intervene. "These are very generous gifts, Easton. Thank you." But the damage was done. The pattern was continuing exactly as it had for my entire life. No matter what I did, it would never be good enough. "Now for our gifts to Easton," my father announced, handing me a rectangular package. I unwrapped it to find a book titled "Real Estate Investment: Your Path to Financial Security," with a handwritten note inside, "Time to invest in something real." "Dad." My mother gave me a generic sweater that was at least one size too large. "I was not sure of your size now," she apologized. Adam handed me a coffee mug with his law firm's logo and, incredibly, his business card inside. "In case you ever need legal advice," he said with a wink. Sarah simply shrugged when it was her turn. "I forgot you were coming," she said flatly. "Sorry." Natalie looked mortified by her in-laws' behavior. "We have a small gift from us," she said quickly, handing me a gift card to a national chain restaurant. "It is not much, but we thought you might use it." "Thank you, Natalie," I said sincerely. At least someone had made an effort. My father cleared his throat. "Easton, now that you are approaching your 30s, it is time you rejoined the real world. This computer phase has gone on long enough. Adam's firm is expanding their IT department. He could put in a word for you." Adam nodded. "We need someone to manage the servers and fix the printers. Nothing fancy, but it would get you back home where you belong." They both looked at me as if they were offering a tremendous favor, as if my successful career, my team leadership role, my industry recognition meant nothing. The room erupted in laughter when Sarah added, "Remember when Easton tried to build that robot for the science fair and it caught fire? Maybe keep him away from the expensive equipment." Adam joined in. "Or when he thought he could program the school's website and crashed the entire system." The principal was furious. My mother sat silently, a weak smile on her face, not defending me. The final straw came when my father raised his glass. "To Easton, who may one day grow up and make something of himself. There is still time, son. You could be like your brother if you applied yourself to something worthwhile. In that moment, everything became crystal clear. I had spent years in therapy, working through my feelings of inadequacy. I had built a successful career and a fulfilling life. I had come here hoping for reconciliation, but nothing had changed. They were the same people who had driven me away 7 years ago. I stood up calmly, the room falling silent as I did. I looked at each family member in turn before speaking. I came here today, hoping things might be different. I began, my voice steady. I have spent 7 years building a life I am proud of. I lead a team of brilliant engineers. I develop technology that improves security for millions of people. I have friends who value me and a partner who supports me. I paused, taking in their surprised expressions. But I see now that nothing has changed here. You still cannot see me for who I am. You still cannot respect my choices or my success, because it does not fit your narrow definition of achievement. My father started to interrupt, his face reddening, but I held up my hand. I do not need your approval anymore. I do not need to be like Adam. I am successful on my own terms. I came here offering a second chance at having a relationship, but I can see that was a mistake. I walked to the tree and gathered my unopened presents. I will be donating these to charity, people who actually appreciate thoughtfulness. Now wait just a minute. My father sputtered, rising from his chair. You cannot just walk in here after 7 years and judge us. We are your family. Family respects each other, I replied. Family celebrates differences and supports each other's paths. You have never done that for me. My mother began to cry. Easton, please. It is Christmas. Do not go. Adam stood with an indignant expression. This is why you never fit in. Always so dramatic and sensitive. Sarah rolled her eyes. Just leave then. That is what you do best. Only Natalie looked at me with understanding, giving me a small nod that somehow conveyed she got it. I walked to the door, presents in hand. I wish you all well, but I will not subject myself to this anymore. Goodbye. The shocked silence, as I closed the door behind me, was deafening. I placed the gifts in my rental car and drove away from my childhood home for what I believed would be the last time. At the hotel, I called Jessica and finally let the emotions flow. They have not changed at all, I told her, voice breaking. It was exactly the same as before. I am so sorry, she said softly. I really hoped they had grown. Come home, babe. Your real family is waiting for you here. I changed my flight to leave early Christmas morning and spent the evening processing what had happened. Part of me felt devastated that reconciliation had failed, but another part felt strangely liberated. I had faced my past and stood up for myself in a way I never could have 7 years ago. My phone buzzed repeatedly with texts and calls from my mother, which I ignored. There was one angry voicemail from my father. After everything we have done for you, this is how you repay us, by embarrassing us at Christmas. That message confirmed I had made the right decision. There was no acknowledgement of their behavior, only anger at my reaction to it. I flew back to Seattle on Christmas morning, watching the Ohio landscape disappear beneath the clouds. Jessica met me at the airport with a warm embrace that felt more like home than anything I had experienced in my childhood house. We spent Christmas Day with friends, and I donated all the family gifts to a local charity. Somehow, despite the pain, I felt stronger. I had gone back, faced my past, and chosen my own path again, with even more conviction. The weeks after Christmas were busy with work, which helped distract me from the failed family reunion. Jessica and I moved forward with our lives, and I threw myself into new projects at my company. In my therapy sessions, I processed the experience. You stood up for yourself, my therapist pointed out. The old Easton would have sat there and taken it. You have grown tremendously. January brought a flood of apologetic emails from my mother. Unlike her previous messages, these acknowledged the hurt I had experienced. "We were wrong," she wrote in one. "We have never given you the respect you deserve." I read them but did not respond. The wound was still too fresh, and I was not sure I believed anything would actually change. In February, I was surprised to receive a call from Adam. Even more surprising was his tone. Gone was the arrogance and condescension. He sounded humbled. "I owe you an apology," he said, without preamble. "What happened at Christmas was wrong. How we have treated you your entire life was wrong. I never saw it until you walked out and Natalie laid into me afterward." "Natalie?" I asked, genuinely surprised. She was furious with all of us. Said we were cruel and dismissive of someone who had clearly built a successful life on his own terms. She made me see how I have been riding Dad's approval my entire life, while you had the courage to forge your own path. His words seemed sincere, but I remained cautious. "It is a little late for this realization, Adam." "I know," he admitted. "But is it too late to try to be better? To actually be brothers?" I did not have an answer for him then. I told him I needed time to think, and he respected that. Over the spring, more communication trickled in. My mother emailed that they had started family therapy sessions after what happened at Christmas. My father had experienced a minor heart issue in March that had apparently prompted some soul-searching. Sarah texted me in April. "I was jealous," she wrote bluntly. "You got out and built something for yourself. I stayed and played the role Dad wanted. I am sorry I was such a brat at Christmas." Even my father eventually sent an email. It was brief and clearly difficult for him to write, but it contained the words I had never expected to hear from him. "I was wrong. I am sorry." According to my mother, Natalie had been instrumental in this family reckoning. After I left on Christmas Eve, she had apparently told them all exactly how horribly they had behaved and threatened to limit their access to their grandchildren if they could not learn to be more accepting and kind. Jessica read these messages with me carefully, not pushing me in either direction. "Whatever you decide, I support you," she said. "Just make sure you are doing it for yourself, not out of obligation." My therapist offered similar advice. Forgiveness does not mean you have to let them fully back into your life. It can be on your terms with boundaries you set. After much reflection, I crafted a response to my family in May. I acknowledged their apologies and expressed appreciation for their efforts at change. I outlined clear boundaries for any potential reconciliation, including respect for my career and life choices, no comparisons between siblings, and a zero-tolerance policy for put-downs masked as jokes. "I am open to small steps," I wrote, "perhaps video calls before any in-person meetings, but understand that trust is earned, and you have a lot of earning to do." To my surprise, they all agreed to my terms without argument. My father's response was particularly unexpected. "You have every right to set these boundaries," he wrote. "I have not been the father you deserved, but I would like the chance to do better." We scheduled our first video call for June. It was awkward and stilted at first, but without the pressure of being physically in the same space, we managed to have our first civil conversation in years. Since then, we have had monthly calls. They ask questions about my work and actually listen to the answers. I have learned about their lives too, seeing them as people rather than just roles in the family drama. My father has even started asking technical questions about his business website, a small acknowledgement of my expertise that means more than he probably realizes. Are we a healed family? No. Do I fully trust their change of heart? Not yet. But there is a cautious rebuilding happening that I never thought possible. What I have learned through all of this is that self-worth cannot come from others' approval. I had to find it within myself first. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is necessary for healthy relationships, and sometimes people can change if they have proper motivation and do the inner work required. Jessica and I got engaged last month. When I told my family on our video call their genuine happiness for us was the most authentic reaction I have seen from them in my entire life. I do not know what the future holds for my relationship with my family. We are planning an in-person visit later this year, with Jessica by my side. It will be a test of how real their change truly is. But regardless of what happens with them, I know who I am now. I am Easton, a successful software engineer, a loving partner, a loyal friend, and a man who finally learned to value himself even when his family could not. What about you? Have you ever had to set boundaries with family or give someone a second chance? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about family dynamics and personal growth. And if you know someone who might need to hear this message, share this video with them. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes the family we choose is as important as the family we are born into.